So thank you for everyone for registering and attending today. We're really excited about today's content. We're going to talk about kitchen renovation mistakes to avoid. A couple housekeeping items before we start. We are recording this right now, and we will share the recording and the slides afterwards. So be on the lookout from that after the webinar ends. We got a lot of great questions when everyone signed up. We'll make sure we get to all those questions, and feel free to add questions in the Q&A feature as we go on today. Next, I'd like to introduce our two panelists. First, we have Steve Scheinkoff, CEO at Yale Appliance. Steve's been at Yale since 1986, helping grow Yale from the original Boston store that we're known for to the 3 current locations in Framingham and Hanover. He'll be sharing his experience from his own renovation projects and countless other examples over the years today. Stuart Elflin from Metropolitan Cabinets and Countertops is also with us. Stuart started Metropolitan with his father back in 1984, and since then Metropolitan has grown significantly to 4 showroom locations currently, plus a 150,000 square foot factory in Norwood where they manufacture custom and stock cabinets. With the introductions out of the way, let me turn it over to Steve to take over from here.
All right. Thank you, Pat. What not to do in a kitchen renovation? I saw this picture and I said, let's start with a problem in a kitchen. If you don't see it right away, you will in about 12 and a half minutes. There's a major problem in this picture, actually 2. So let's get on it. As Pat said, this is my 47th year at Yale, 34 years full time. 13 years we've written a blog on how to buy appliances. Hard to believe. So here's what we're going to cover today is 5 ways to fail is buying or not buying proprietary products. We're going to take a look at colors and how to do them properly. Cooking, which is the biggest decision you have to make. And then the worst appliance fail. Stay tuned if you live in Massachusetts. Last, we want to trust and verify anybody that's on your job site. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Okay. Here's some quick tips on how not to fail. A, hire the right people. And 2, know what you want. And that becomes much more, you have to know what you want, especially now. I was talking to a vendor on a dishwasher. I go, why aren't you shipping dishwashers? And he goes, well, when a dishwasher is manufactured for 220 pieces and you got 219, you can't ship the dishwasher. And that's what you're going to find. There we go. That's what you're going to find is when I started in 1986, you bought a Maytag washer. It was from Newton, Iowa. It was designed, engineered, and manufactured in Newton, Iowa. All the parts came there. Now, you flash forward to 2020. You may make the control panels in China and the pumps in Mexico. And it's good because it's made the supply chain more efficient. Certainly people can specialize. But with a pandemic, chances are in the beginning of the year, you weren't able to get, your control boards from China. And now you can't get anything from Mexico. So if you're missing a couple parts, you can't ship the product. All right. So if we talk about these 2, if we're missing these 2 parts, we can't ship the dishwasher. Sorry again for the technical stuff here. I'm having some problems with the internet. Okay. And that's true of anything really right now. So I'll tell you a story. My friend goes to buy a Bosch dishwasher. Says, I want to buy a Bosch. I said, okay, it's not available right now. It's going to take 8 to 12 weeks to get. He goes, well, I want to buy a Bosch. I said, well, we'll let you know when it comes in. He goes, well, I can't wait 8 to 12 weeks. And he said, and I said, well, why are you buying a Bosch dishwasher? And he goes, it's quiet. I go, yeah, indeed it is quiet. But so are these. Right? You can buy a KitchenAid dishwasher at 44 dBs, buy a new Beko at 39. Miele's a little bit noisier at 46 decibels, and you can get something right now. So really, what I'm saying is buy to the feature that you want instead of being brand loyal to the product that you think you want. Okay? And that's true, like Sub-Zero right now has some problems. It's an 8 to 12 week lead time. I love Sub-Zero. I'm not picking any manufacturer I show you on this list is going to have a problem. But if you're buying a kitchen because you like a commercial look, could you replicate that in another brand if you needed to? If you needed to make that pivot, could you go to a Gaggenau? Could you go to a Miele? Could you go to a Thermador, right? We said before that Bosch, that Bosch has had problems in the New Bern factory making dishwashers and other products, right? Can you get that same European look in other brands for the same price? And you can, G Cafe, Samsung, LG, I put KitchenAid in the same category. So really in your project, before you start, let's plan a little bit longer. Let's be flexible and look for features instead of brands. And the one thing I want to tell you, if you're going to be completely brand loyal through your project, you're going to be delayed an inordinate amount of time. You're really setting yourself up for failure. So just be flexible with brands and look for the features and then plan a little bit longer. All right, let's talk about kitchen fails. I figured I'd start with something simple. This is a combo washer and dryer. It's one of my least favorite products because it doesn't work. It's not reliable. Problem is when you put a washer and dryer together, the lint ends up in the washer, ends up seizing the machine. So I thought it might be a good thing to look at, if you design a closet around it, how would you go about fixing that? And then I saw this picture of someone who actually designed a whole kitchen around it. How are they going to replace that with a product that's its only replacement is the product you don't want? And the answer is, don't box you into a proprietary product. Appliances are less like that than they used to be. We used to have nice diamond-shaped Gaggenau cooktops, 27-inch built-in Sub-Zero refrigerators. Decor had a 30-inch dishwasher one time. One of my friends bought, couldn't replace anything because nobody makes a 30-inch dishwasher. Here's another thing that's kind of emblematic of what could, if this goes wrong, this is a Frigidaire. It's the only 32-inch wide built-in all refrigerator, all freezer. Okay, let's say that Frigidaire doesn't want to make that anymore and the product fails in 6 to 10 years. What do you replace that with? The answer is you can't. You'd have to call Stu and have him redesign the whole cabinetry around there. If you put it in the middle kitchen, you may have to redesign the whole kitchen. So stay away from proprietary products. Avoid black steel. Why? Because the overcoating is going to get scratched and cannot be repaired. So that was our first picture of the slide deck. A nice black stainless kitchen. Here's what's going to happen in 8 to 12 months, maybe short if you have a child, is you're going to have a nice kitchen with all black hued appliances and a constellation of like silver shiny scratches because it can't be fixed. It's basically oxidized coating over stainless steel. So you want to avoid that. One thing about colors that I want to there are a lot of people that like colors, but manufacturers are really finicky on colors. Like if you look at orange here today, and it was the hot color a couple years ago, if they can't get enough manufacturing, they'll discontinue it. So what happens when, let's just say the stove, they can't get a part, you need to replace that stove with, say, within 2 to 3 years or 5 to 6 years. What happens to that whole kitchen if that stove or refrigerator, you can't get an orange anymore? So there is a little antidote. And again, this is more personal preference, but more of an observation because I've seen colors come and go in my 36-year career here is, how about trying a pop of color? So if orange gets discontinued in range, you can fill in with another color or just go stainless steel. I think that's a more advisable way of planning your kitchen. Now let's talk about the tough stuff, how you fail, okay? Not understanding your lifestyle is the way to fail. And what you want to do is you want to ask yourself the following questions. Do you cook regularly? What is your lifestyle? How much and how will you use your space? Highlighting objects is huge. We talked about my sister last time. She sold her house, bought a house on the beach. She made windows to see the pond out back. If you're trying to highlight something, design your kitchen around it. And lastly, do not look at appliance pictures on house or what your neighbor did. So you understand what you'll do. But I'll show you some pictures on house that will make you think twice. The fundamental cooking mistake is cooking, okay? And you got two decisions. You've got wall oven cooktop or central range. Whether you want your cooking centralized or you want more of an ergonometric, you don't have to bend and you have more choices around it, at least in theory. I want you to take a look at that picture on the left, right? And I want you to, it's a double oven, and they put the microwave on top. It's a nice utilization of space in theory. But I want to set the table like, let's just say that you're microwaving soup, so it's nice and hot. At the same time, your 4-year-old wants your phone to play Zulingo or another game. What does that look like when you're reaching over your head for that boiling pot of soup? And then this is one of the top 3 images on Google Images right now for wall ovens. So it's not something you want to do. Instead, what you want to do is really microwave over wall oven is about as far as you should go. And maybe a warming drawer underneath it. So you're not reaching up over anything to get something boiling hot. I want you to remember, here's a designer tip for you. If you're just starting out, the 2 most used items are not your wall oven and not your refrigerator, okay? You can put them anywhere because you're in your fridge sporadically. In your wall oven, if your average recipe is 30, 45 minutes, you're not checking it. The 2 most used items in your kitchen is your sink and your stovetop. That's the best place to start because you're there all the time. Other lifestyle questions are, you want to cook with steam, speed, you want to use induction. We're going to talk about induction at length a little bit from now. But, I said that wall ovens have more choices because you can really do anything with a wall oven in matching steam and speed ovens, but you can start doing that with ovens too. So Thermador, it's got an oven and then it has the steam oven next to it plus a warming drawer. It's also kind of niche brands like SKS. What you're looking at is a sous vide, which is precision boiling in a bag. Always difficult terms for simple things. With Pro Range burners and then induction cooktop. Then, Fisher Bakel's got half induction and half pro. So you can really do anything with anything. You just got to figure out what it is you want to do, okay? The 3 fails of ventilation. This is my #1 least favorite picture on the internet, okay? You can't downdraft a Pro Range. A lot of manufacturers at least tacitly say you can. See these pictures on Best, Viking, but this one was on House, and I wanted you to take particularly close attention to this arrow. That's an infrared gas grill. Now, an infrared gas grill is the same thing as a sear element on your outside grill. If you have a Lynx or a Heston or a Kalamazoo or any of those Pro grills, it's the same grill, right? Or take a look, light up half your Weber. Take a look, put something on there, see the smoke that comes out, and ask yourself, could a downdraft downvent that much amount of smoke and grease? And the answer is no way. And the problem is, it's not that people do it, it's how do you fix it after you start using it and realize it can't be done? Well, the only way to fix this, is someone to tell me, is you're going to have to break into the ceiling and then put an island hood in and hope that you can run a duct to the outside that way, or redesign the whole kitchen and put the sink or maybe induction burners there. But either way, it is tough to do and very expensive to get it done. Here's the other fail. People like these designer box hoods or any kind of hood. It's 21 inches deep. People seem to think that if you put a high CFM hood, a high CFM motor with a 21-inch over a Pro Range, that'll work, that the actual motor will compensate for the lack of depth. But that's not the way it works, okay? This is another fail. Smoke's just gonna bill out through the front of that, especially if you cook. So really what I wanna show you is how to vent, okay? And how to vent is basically, everyone knows this, CFM is the amount of cubes of air, cubic foot per minute. Capture is just a fancy way of saying depth. I recommend at least 24 inches deep over any high output range. The duct run, the best way to lead a horse is the way it wants to go. The best way to lead smoke is the same way. Straight up works, straight back works. Duct size, 4 inches for dryers. It's not for high output ranges, 8 to 10 inch. You want to bend the duct as few times as possible because it reduces static pressure. Okay, Mass residences for you, this is law, and yes, your job will be shut down if you do not have makeup air. Makeup air is, if you have a vent over 400 CFM, you must make up the equal amount of air returning to your house, which is easy to do initially, harder to get done once you do it wrong. Now, this is law in Massachusetts. It's been on the books since 2007, but it wasn't until 2014 that people actively looked. Now, if you take a look in our picture, very simple to duct it out once the ceiling's open. Once the ceiling's closed, much harder to do. And then I started to think, okay, new homes are airtight, right? What happens to a home without makeup air? So say you're at this webinar, or you tune in from like California or something like that. What happens to a house that doesn't have makeup air? Now remember, windows are airtight, you got tankless heaters, so air isn't going in or out. So in your new house, in your new kitchen, you fire up your Pro range, you put your hood on, which is good. It's 1,100 CFM, that's 1,100 cubes of air leaving your house per minute, or 33,000 cubes of air per 30 minutes, the average time you probably cook on top of your stovetop. The question is, how is that air being made up in an airtight home? And it isn't. So you're creating a really bad environment in your house without makeup air. So even if you're tuning in from another state, it is really easy and it's not that expensive to get done initially. In Massachusetts, it becomes really hard once you didn't do it, and the CO says, well, and the inspector says, well, now you got to get it done. Okay. So I want to help with that. And I want to give you like a question. What is faster? 25,000 BTU Blue Star Nova burner. It's the hottest burner you can buy residentially, and amongst the hottest you can buy in the country, even commercially, or a simple 3,700 watt induction burner. Because if you guess Blue Star, you guess wrong. Induction is way faster. And you're talking about very recent technology. When I say recent, 1980 versus gas has been around since the 1920s. This is 90% efficient. This is 55% efficient. So really the benefits of induction are it's faster to boil, lower simmer. It's easier to clean because the top doesn't get hot. It's magnetic. It's the most child safe because it has to sense metal, so your kid can't turn it on. You get lower HVAC costs because you're not putting a 25,000 BTU, you're not putting 25,000 BTU burners in your home. It's like a campfire in your house. And you need less venting. Okay, so this is something you could vent much easier in an island than you could a Pro or a high output gas burner. Okay. Lastly, trust but verify. You're going to have people in your house for the next 6 months. Verify they can do what supposedly they're telling you they can do. To give you an idea about just appliances, and I'm sure Stu will talk about this in cabinets, is appliances break or they need tune-ups. Just us, we're just in Boston, we had 35,256 service calls in 2019. That means appliances, we went on appliances 13.4% of the time within the first year. So again, you're going to spend on the average 7,000 to 25,000 or more on a new kitchen. Just make sure everybody that says they can do something can get it done. We insist, to give you an idea, of Corey checks, checking with the criminal registry. I don't know if you have to go that far, but you should check on social media everybody that's going to walk into your house, okay? Because this is the reality of what we do as a company. Most people think, oh, 3 nice showrooms, all that other stuff. But really, our business is a service-related business. This is an average day, 91 deliveries or sales versus 194 service calls with 51 installs. So to wrap it up, what we want to do is plan first and understand your lifestyle before we get our new kitchen. We want to add 4 to 12 weeks on our project time estimate, not just for appliances, but for everything, because COVID's made things that bad for almost everything. Be feature oil, so Sub-Zero you can't get, maybe you can get something else that'll fit what the actual feature you want. Don't be brand loyal, especially across your whole project. Stay away from proprietary brands or products with odd dimensions. Remember, black steel scratches. I say that because black steel was at one time 35% of all appliance sales. Add a pop of color, not a kitchen color, if you can. Be mindful of your space and how you use it. Remember, wall-in versus range is the hardest decision. Everything follows that. And which works best in your space. Vent properly. Avoid the 3 traps of venting. And always trust but verify anybody that's in your house. Now to end this, I want to give you a quote. You know, the person that put the PowerPoint obviously wasn't me. It was a guy, Manny Gonzalez. And he looked at the first draft and I said, what do you think? He goes, well, it's not rocket science. I go, yeah, well, it's not rocket science until something goes wrong. And then you got to put it back together again. Remember, doing this wrong is way more expensive than getting it right the first time. So thank you. I want to, send this over to Stu. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. So we unshare over there.
Unshare.
And Stuart, you can take it from there. A reminder, please start sending any questions we can get to. We can start filling up the bucket for our Q&A. Stuart.
Hey, Pat. Thank you, Steve. That was wonderful. The first topic is I want to make sure you buy what you like. So when you're planning for a kitchen renovation, you should have a budget in mind of what you want to spend on the cabinet and countertops. So many people come in, and when we ask them, what do you have as a budget, I don't know. So you really need to think about your budget in the beginning, because there's a lot to going into a renovation. There's all the tradespeople, there's the carpenter, the plumber, the electrician, the floor company, the painting company. There's a lot, and then there's the cabinets, the countertops, and the appliances. And I think a lot of people, they only think of one particular product when they're trying to come up with a budget. I really think you need to buy what you like, and nobody. So if you have a budget in mind and what you like is a little bit over your budget, I really think you should try to see how you could make your budget a little higher, because 5 years from now, you will not regret being happy that you bought what you liked, but you definitely could have regrets about not getting what you like. So if you can somehow get within the budget and get what you like, you will not regret it. So I have to admit that I've become an online shopper I bought peanut butter recently, I bought soap online. So there are things that I truly know what I'm getting when I buy it, but buying a kitchen online can be very different than a name brand product. So nobody really dreams about replacing their basement windows, but they do dream about their kitchen. And so this is a very important decision, and you want to make smart decisions. And the best way, I think, is to visit showrooms and make sure that what you are getting truly has no surprises for you. The kitchen is truly the center of the house. Everybody, when you have guests over, everybody congregates in the kitchen. It's really an important decision in most people's lives, finishing their kitchen. So I want to say, make sure you find a showroom with designers that can help you with cabinets and countertops. I'm also going to say you need to buy local. The advantages are for you that you can discuss the layout and listen to a designer about the pros and cons of possibly 2 or 3 different designs to come up with one that really fits your budget and fits what you want to buy. The design process can be kind of trying, in the sense of trying to get exactly what you need. The other thing that's important is that the designer understands your lifestyle. So Steve mentioned about cooking. Are you a big cooker or not? Do you have baking requirements? Do you like to have recycling cabinets in the kitchen? You really want to make sure that the final design is benefiting you and your lifestyle. The other thing about buying local is some jobs don't go well, and the local company can be a very quick response to try to keep the job going so that all the subs are not slowed down. So there are advantages to you buying from a local company that can fulfill all your needs. Understanding the design, and I think Steve really talked about, you really need to understand the appliances and the functions of the appliances. Also with kitchen cabinets and countertops, you need to understand the design also. So you don't want to go to a designing firm, kitchen design firm, and tell them what they should be putting. You should make suggestions of your lifestyle, and hopefully they hear it and they come up with ideas that are very clear. So again, you need to talk about your lifestyle. This is a room that truly reflects. So when you wake up in the morning, do you want to have your coffee in the kitchen, or do you go into a den? Do you like to sit at an island if there's a small, maybe 2 or 3 people? Do you want to eat your dinner at the island? Do you want to go to the kitchen table? These are questions that should be brought up in the design stage. Another thing that people don't think about early in the stage is the countertops. And the advantages of doing the countertop design is you may have an island that's bigger than a slab, and you could have a seam in the island. And then when you get the island, you say, no, that's not what I thought. So try to design the countertops early too. This will be that there are no surprises. The last thing you want is when the countertops are installed, you say, that's not what I thought I was getting. This is a very important decision, and everybody wants the end user to be happy with the design and the product. And the most important thing I can say to everybody is you want to be happy and you don't want surprises. Thank you.
We have a couple questions queued up for everybody. The first one, I think I'll pitch this one to Stuart. Question from Karen: how long do your kitchen cabinets normally last, and are they easy to paint if we want to change the color someday?
Okay, when people come in and they bought a house and the cabinets are kind of old and they don't like the color and they're thinking about painting it, I say to them, well, you could paint them, and if you don't like it, then you go with a new kitchen. But rather than tearing out the kitchen and starting fresh, but I would say most kitchens probably are gonna look a little tired when they're approaching 15 years.
Great. Another question. This is a popular question. And I think Steve and Stuart can both take a stab at this one. What would you say is the most important first step to take when thinking about a kitchen renovation? Steve, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I really think basically it's almost like I would look at, Stuart's probably a better person to ask, but for me, I've done a bunch of kitchens and we remodel Yales. It's about looking at the space and how you use it. For me, the big kind of like aha moment for me is realizing that, I use the sink a lot. I use the cooktop a lot. And for me, I had enough space where basically I put the refrigerator and the oven in different ends, but I'm different than most. First, how much space do we have, and B, what appliances we use? And it's almost like choreography of how you're going to work in the space. Because you don't want to, like, you know, if you're cooking a certain type of way, you don't want to have to, the whole thing is, they used to talk about kitchen triangles, of not moving more than 1 or 2 steps for anything. I think a lot of that has validity, but you know, with islands today, you can put a lot of stuff in the island. I recommend sinks because that's what I've done. But definitely just understand how much space you have, how are you going to use it? That's where I would start.
Stuart, anything to add there?
I would say a lot of people, when they come in, they kind of want the kitchen they had before. And then I asked them, did you design the last kitchen? No, it was in the house when we bought the house. So I agree with Steve that the space on a blank piece of paper should have just the openings and the windows. And sometimes you can actually move door openings for very short money, especially if it's a non-bearing wall. Maybe not windows, but you really should try to have an open mind for a new design. And I agree with Steve that you don't use all the appliances constantly. You go to the sink 85% of the time you're in the kitchen. You go to the fridge a lot, and the cooktop, and maybe the wall oven you use 4 times a week. So the designer really should not be influenced by the past kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I couldn't agree more, especially, you know, he's way more qualified to answer this question than me. I'm only answering it from a personal standpoint, especially in these older homes. We have kitchen room, you know, you have your kitchen and dining room. That's kind of not the way we live anymore. One of the things, you can always break down that wall and make really a much more impressive, much more functional space, you know, especially everyone like kind of hangs out in the kitchen. You make one great room with a nice island, and you know, you put your TV and your table there. I think you get much more utility out of that than having dining space, living space like we all had growing up. At least I did.
Great, thank you.
Well said.
Or just a last call for questions. If anyone wants to add any more questions, use that Q&A feature. We have one more question here. With COVID, what timeline should people be working on in advance of demo for ordering cabinetry? Stuart, you want to take that one?
Well, I think everybody should try to hire a professional on the job so that it's not the do-it-yourselfer. All the subs that are required to be on site in a timely fashion is quite difficult. And if you can hire you have to hire a professional to make the job go well. I would recommend you order everything as early as you can and either have them store it or have you bring it to your garage. But like Steve said, the appliances are delayed, so order everything right away. The worst thing that would happen is you have all the products there too early, but at least the subs are not waiting. Mm-hmm. And that's whether it's COVID year or non-COVID year.
Okay, great. That's all our questions for right now. We will share this presentation, the recording and the slides. We'll share that with everyone who registered, so you can review that, and feel free to send in any more questions that come up. We'll have everyone's contact info in there. And thank you again for registering, and we'll be signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you.